according to Donald Trump, if he loses, the reason will be the Jews.
Well,
let me play this clip for you,
okay.
and I want everyone to see exactly what I'm talking about.
But I will put it to you very simply and gently. I really haven't been treated right, but you haven't been treated right because you're putting yourself in great danger, and the United States hasn't been treated right. So if I don't win this election, and I've been very good, they say Trump's been right about everything. I've been right about a lot of things. Even Ted will admit that. I've been right about a lot of things that a lot of people said, no, that won't happen, but a lot of bad things happened, and some good things I've been right about too. And I only want to be, so I'm not going to call this as a prediction, but in my opinion, the Jewish people would have a lot to do with a loss. If I'm at 40%, if I'm at 4, think of it, that means 60% are voting for Kamala, who in particular is a bad Democrat. The Democrats are bad to Israel, very bad. They'll never change because they have a section of their party now which has become amazingly and quickly very powerful vote-wise. I mean, Chuck Schumer is a Palestinian. Who would have thought that was going to happen? What the hell happened to him? I saw him the other day. He was dressed in one of their robes. That'll be next.
Well,
he's the gift that keeps on giving. I'm sorry. That's a me. This is gold.
I will say there's a lot in there that I hope is accurate. If the Jews are responsible for Donald Trump losing, that would make me very happy. I also think that it's actually he's not going to get 40% of the Jewish vote.
No.
You say that every year. I think it's possible he may pick up a percentage, perhaps, from like where it's traditionally at, but he's not, it's going to be a 75% generally. I think,
I think he gets 20-25%. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's in that neighborhood. He's not getting 40%. And I hope, when he says, Democrats bad for Israel, I hope that we get an administration that, at the very least, conditions aid to Israel. I mean, I would like to end, frankly, all arms sales and aid to Israel, and then use the power we have to, I don't know, force a one-state solution, force a two-state solution, whatever, change the nature of the dynamic of the process. I mean, so I hope he's correct in his assessment there. I'm concerned that he's not, frankly, but it's, Trump doesn't offend me at this point because he's just like, that's all he is. But that dynamic of like conflating Jews and Israel, I've begun to find that incredibly offensive. And it's said by people who are supposedly a lot less offensive than Donald Trump.
And this idea of blaming Jews for the outcome, this idea of saying the right way to be Jewish is to vote for me, right? And like you said, vote for me because I'm good for Israel. To be in Israel is Judaism. All of that bound up together. It's very fascinating to me. And it's, and Joe Biden told black people basically, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. I mean, there's a way that candidates do that, right? And it's always offensive. It's always disturbing. I sort of said to myself, though, a Democrat could never get away. Can you imagine Barack Obama saying, hey, Jews, if I don't win this election?
I mean, this is why when I look at Trump and Harris is part of an administration that I think is the worst administration, Democratic administration that has existed and will exist, frankly, in terms of the way that they're dealing with Israel and the way they're dealing with the Palestinians, by a mile. And the reason why I think, I think the issue of Gaza, I don't think it determined Biden getting out of the race, But if Biden wasn't as bad as he was on this, and is, I should say, there would have been a whole sort of like other movement that would have been pushing back, right? Like, I mean, and like he had lost various constituencies, and he had lost young people and
college students and
college
Arabs
students, and like
Muslims
unions were coming out, and like there was a lot of people there who would otherwise have been there to defend him. Now, you know, like that weren't showing up, and we're like, I'm fine with this because you know, anything's going to be an upgrade. The reason why you never hear a Democrat say something like that is because the constituencies that care about this, the constituencies that care about Gaza, are the Venn diagram with Harris constituencies. There's a lot of overlap. And so, you know, Trump can get up there and say, you know, Chuck Schumer's a Palestinian as if it's some type of slur.
Right.
Kamala Harris cannot say that, because she will alienate a huge part of her constituency. Now, that constituency,
which she did in Michigan, by the way, when she stands up and says, "I'm talking."
Yeah, no, exactly. And there was blowback, and she had to change on that. Now, that constituency is not willing to say, we're going to put Donald Trump in office, but that constituency is not going away. So they will vote for her, but they will turn on her, and they'll see it in the polls if she becomes president and she doesn't do anything. Like, right. That's why, like, you know, when I'm looking at this and I'm saying, like, you know, how can I, and I don't have an issue with people who say, like, I can't, like, morally come in and pull, you know, like, emotionally pull the lever for Harris because my family is being destroyed, or like, I can't bring myself to do it. Although I've had, like, you know, first generation Palestinians call into my program and say, on one hand, I'm a Palestinian, but I'm also, you know, like, I'm also working class. I'm also, you know, have parts of other progressive communities that would suffer under Donald Trump. And so, like, how do I, you know, navigate this? And I'm like,
but I'm also reluctant to concede. And I had Butch Ware on last night, the vice presidential nominee for the Green Party. And part of what I don't want to concede is that there is no material difference between the Democrats and Republicans, even on Gaza. They both are terrible. But I believe, based on the evidence, not just, you know, vibes, that more Palestinians would die under Trump than under Biden.
100%. And the West Bank will be annexed. And I mean, look, we saw, I don't know if you saw that clip of Miriam Adelson, who she said, and it was reported that she was willing to give him $100 million pack, and probably more, if he agrees to allowing for the annexation of the West Bank. 2 days later, there comes the money. She's up there speaking. She said, he gave us Jerusalem as the capital.
Yep.
He got out of the Iran deal. And then we got the Golan Heights as a bonus. We didn't even ask him for that. Right. And honestly, I think, you know, I think Joe Biden doesn't move the capital, Jerusalem. He may not move it back, but he doesn't move it there in the first place.
Well, to be clear, just for the audience's benefit, the Jerusalem Embassy Act was signed in '94, right, under Clinton. And then what happened was every U.S. president from '94 until now has signed a waiver
saying that it doesn't go,
kicking it down the field every 6 months. So basically, Clinton classic Clinton, right? He made everybody happy. He says, "Look, we're moving to Jerusalem," and then he gets the applause, he gets the votes. He looks like he's keeping the Palestinians in their place, just like he kept Sister Soldier in their place, just like he kept the welfare people in their place. Then he signs the waiver, and he creates a pathway for every subsequent U.S. president to not have to do anything. So what made Trump different, I think this is an important distinction to make, is that Trump didn't say, he didn't initiate the legislation, and he didn't sort of encourage it. He just said, I'm not signing the waiver anymore. So now it leaves Biden in an interesting spot where he can't just kick it down the field like everyone else does. And then this isn't to defend Biden, because he should move it back.
Right.
It's just to say that that this has been a long hustle by Democrats.
100%. But it was also used as like, here's the carrot for you guys. Here's the carrot. And
that's a generous reading, yeah.
Well, no, but I actually do think that's what it was on some level. I mean, I think it was like a carrot in a different era, right? Like, in terms of where the United States placed itself. But be that as it may, I think Biden continues to sign those waivers because of the nature of the dynamic within his party. And I think he's just gone, completely off the rails in terms of this stuff now. But yes, I think that there is, I think that less Palestinians die. I think that I think the Democratic Party is moving in a certain direction. It's very hard to see it now because, you got AIPAC dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into these primary races and intimidating people. But that can only last for so long. Like, I honestly think that, it's
working less and less now.
Less and less now, despite the fact that they've dumped those in, like, and let's be clear too. They ran against Bowman because he wouldn't sign the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and was actually more in favor of Biden's agenda than the people who were voting for that. But nevertheless,